Hey everybody, I hope and pray that you're doing well. Today as we come to our word from the word, and today that word is develop. Develop. Now we're continuing on in First Chronicles, and I know last week we left off with David and his smart decisions and his failures, and then even coming back and trying to get back to that right relationship with God. And today we're going to pick up in First Chronicles chapter 22, and really going to be dealing with a lot this week, dealing with the things that were going to happen. And he was really laying the groundwork for what was to come. And that's really why I wanted to use that word develop today, because David was developing what was going to happen afterwards. He was making preparations for what was to come. Now, this week, I encourage you to read along, as always, to all these passages, but we're going to get all the way really to chapter 28 by the end of the week. And so maybe a little bit more reading, more ground to cover this week than normal, but I know that you can do it. So, First Chronicles chapter 22, looking just at verse 5 today, and God's word says this. Now David said, Solomon, my son, is young and inexperienced, and the house to be built for the Lord must be exceedingly magnificent, famous, and glorious throughout all countries. I will now make preparation for it. So David made abundant preparations before his death. Now, one of the things that I love about this is that in his developing and getting everything ready, he was willing to make whatever preparation that he needed to. Now, I couldn't help but notice that he realized that the next generation maybe was going to be lacking in a certain area. Maybe he wanted to make sure that Solomon knew just exactly what he was getting into. Now, you remember David is the one that wanted to build the temple, but God said, no, that's not for you. You'll see him repeat this. David repeats this several times as he tells other people, look, it was my desire to do it, but God says no. And he gives them a reason why. And you'll see that as you read. But for Solomon, he wants him to know, look, you need to know just how serious this is. You need to know what my heart's desire is, to see this as a lavish place that will be talked about. And I remember even several years ago, preached a message on Solomon's temple, and to look at all the amounts of gold and things that were used, and so many that were just immeasurable amounts and tonnage of stuff that it would just really just blow your mind for that to be done today, much less a few thousand years ago. But with all of that, the heart of the matter is that David sees, as I said a moment ago, David sees what the next generation was lacking, and he was prepared to make preparation and go ahead and begin developing that plan before he died. Now, I know y'all know I record these ahead of time, and I've already, today's still Sunday for me, but I know you're watching these hopefully on Monday if you watch them every day. But, to do a funeral today, and if, I know many of you have attended many funerals lately, and especially in the last several years, but especially here in the last several months, it's just been a whole lot. But, it makes us not trying to point out any flaws of anybody else, by no means. But it really makes you think, am I laying the groundwork for the ones after me? Because David knew that Solomon was to carry on. But I mean, it makes me as a father think, okay, well, am I passing on to my children what they need? Made me think as a pastor, am I passing along to my congregation the things that they need? Because we're not promised tomorrow. None of us are promised tomorrow. So really, in everything that we do is still a preparation for us not being there. It's a preparation and a developing the plan of God that I hate to burst your bubble, but do you realize that the plan of God and the will of God will continue to go on even if you and I do not? In other words, God's will has always been done, and God's will continue to be done whether we're a part of it or not. Whether I'm here on earth or I'm in heaven, whichever one he decides he wants me to be in, his will on earth is still going to happen. So what preparations are we making? What are you developing for the next generation? Now, you may be even watching and say, okay, well, one, I'm young, I don't have any kids. Or you say, well, I'm old and all my kids are grown, or grandkids are grown, and all these things. That doesn't matter. You still have an influence on the next generation, whether you have children or not. You can influence somebody while there's still time. So why not spend time in prayer today asking God to develop that plan through you, and you help develop that plan for those who will follow on after you. God bless you, and I pray you have a great, great day.